Are you ready to reimagine the future of food? Join Rachel Conrad, Chief Communications Officer of Impossible Foods, to ask, what if?
Hello, my name is Rachel Conrad. I'm the Chief Communications Officer at Impossible Foods, and I'm here to talk a little bit about how we as a civilization can reimagine something that is so profound, so core to who we are, that some people don't even think about it, and that is what we eat. I'm going to tell you a few things that might be shocking, that might almost be incredible, might be unbelievable, but I encourage you to research this for yourself and come to your own conclusions. First thing I'm going to say is using animals to make food has led us to the brink of environmental catastrophe. Again, I know that sounds really shocking, but in fact, it's true. And I'm going to lead you through why this conclusion makes so much sense, and then what we can do to reimagine our food system so that it is sustainable, so that it is in line with having healthy people, healthy animals, and a healthy planet. So first, let's talk about the greenhouse gas impact of animal agriculture. Animal agriculture produces 60% more greenhouse gas emissions than would be generated if we continuously burned all the oil produced by every oil field in the Middle East, okay? That's more than twice the greenhouse gas emissions from burning all the fossil fuels combined from Exxon, Shell, BP, and Chevron. It's pretty incredible, and most people don't think about the greenhouse gas impact of the food we eat, but in fact, it is incredibly large. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on, why that is. The other big impact that livestock has is that it takes up a huge amount of space on our planet. Right now, animal agriculture, both livestock, grazing lands, pasture lands, and the crops that they eat, currently occupies more than 45% of Earth's arable land. That's almost half the usable land on our planet. And frankly, when you put livestock there or their crops, that land isn't used for natural ecosystems and biodiversity. It's used by and large for animals that we eat. And that's why, as many of you already know, demand for meat accounts for more than 90% of Amazon deforestation. You know, we all heard the horrifying news last December, January, that the Amazon was burning. Thousands of fires throughout the Amazon, the lungs of the earth being scorched, you know, millions of acres of biodiversity being lost. This was not a result of lightning strikes or people dropping cigarette butts and accidentally causing fires. This was actually the intentional burning of the Amazon to make way for livestock and their feed crops. Let me tell you a little bit about the real world impact of that enormous amount of land that is being used to create our meat. Call it collapsing biodiversity. In the past 45 years, the total number of wild vertebrates living on Earth has decreased by 60%, okay? The amount of biomass that is taken up by wildlife, in effect, has shrunk by 60%. And that's just in my lifetime and the lifetimes of many of you. Why? Why is this happening? It's largely because of our voracious desire to consume and exploit animals. Okay, sure, there are other reasons, you know, pollution, disease, but by and large, the reason why biodiversity has collapsed is precisely because of our voracious appetite to consume animals. Let me just give you a picture of what this looks like. This is actually all drawn to scale, okay? 10,000 years ago, you know, when people were living in caves, very low density society, you know, people actually didn't eat a lot of meat. They sure would do a big kill every once in a while, but largely lived on a foraging diet. There were about 0.2 million tons of human biomass. Again, we lived no cities to speak of, very, very low density. And the vast majority of the beings on Earth were wildlife, right? About 300 million tons of them. It was just a huge sort of impressive visual sight. Let's fast forward to 1979. Humans certainly increased in our own biomass. Population continued to go up, including astronomically, when we started living in cities. And the biomass, the wildlife biomass, was shrunk quite a bit to only 180 million tons. Now, we can debate all we want, zero population growth, and are there too many human beings on the planet? The reality that you can see from this graphic is that whether or not there are too many human beings, there are certainly too many cows, right? 832 million tons of cows alone by 1979, all right? 4x the amount of human biomass is cow biomass. Flash forward another few decades, 2019, last year that great statistics were available on this, we have shrunk wildlife down to dangerously frightening population density. It's tiny. We have pushed it into the corners of our world. We have marginalized it. We've certainly expanded as a civilization quite a bit, but in fact, our cows are increasing even more. They're now at 1 billion tons. So this simply cannot go on. Just to give you a little bit more visceral understanding of what's going on here, farmed cattle outweigh all remaining wild land vertebrates on Earth by more than a factor of 10. And while cows are certainly the biggest offender, the most massive species that we cultivate, we've got a lot of other problems too. Farm pigs outweigh all remaining wild land vertebrates by more than 50%. Farmed goats and sheep outweigh all remaining wild land vertebrates by more than 25%. Farmed poultry, mostly chickens, some ducks, geese, outweigh all the remaining wild birds by more than 2.5 times. And the meat consumption annually in all of our world is greater than all remaining wild land vertebrates by 6x, okay? We often get the question, well, man, this clearly means we need to go back to a situation where we just hunt our food, right? We can't have animal agriculture. We should just go back to hunting it. Actually, that would be even worse. If we hunted land animals to satisfy our current demand for meat, we would literally kill off pretty much all of the wildlife left in about 2 months. There literally wouldn't be so much as a squirrel or a chickadee left on our planet. So the great people at the United Nations are asking, what if we could reimagine biomass? What if we could reimagine the way we farm? What if we could reimagine the kind of meat we eat? What if we could shrink this land mass that's currently occupied by, animal agriculture and make it into something much more in tune with our goals for a sustainable planet? What if we could actually restore global biodiversity, halt the collapse of biodiversity, and then reduce global warming? We can actually do that if we change the way we make and consume meat, okay? We cannot continue to increase the amount of land that is taken up by cattle, by farmed animals. It doesn't scale. It might have worked 100 years ago. It certainly worked 1,000 and 10,000 years ago. It doesn't work anymore. We have hit the amount of meat that is fully saturating our world, and we need to do this a better way. So I work for a company called Impossible Foods. This is a company that is making meat from plants. So we are taking all of the delicious, nutritious, juicy versatility of meat from animals, and we are eliminating the cow from the picture. Instead of using cows as a pervasive way to take plant biomass and turn it into delicious, nutritious, affordable meat, why don't we just go directly from plants to meat? That's why Impossible Foods was founded. And we have a product called the Impossible Burger that is really, really catching interest among true hardcore omnivores, the people who love to eat meat. And that's great because we are not catering to vegans, to vegetarians. Vegans and vegetarians are already doing the right thing by way of the planet. They are avoiding animal agriculture specifically. We need to create products that are delicious, nutritious, and beloved by actual meat eaters. That's the only way to move the needle here. So our first product, the Impossible Burger, 9 out of 10 people who buy it are omnivores. These are people who regularly eat meat. So again, these are not people who have already made the choice to live in a way that is very much in harmony with the environment and biodiversity. These are people who love a big juicy burger, who can't really imagine their life without it. And in fact, the vast majority of sales of our product come at the expense of animal-derived meat. So the more people buy delicious, nutritious, plant-based meat, the more a light bulb goes off in their heads and the more they want to avoid buying animal agriculture-based products that are really toxic for our planet. Impossible Burger has a very, very small environmental footprint. And it's precisely because we don't use cows. There are no cows in the product whatsoever. And as a result, the product uses 96% less land, 87% less water, and 89% less greenhouse gas emissions. So it is a sustainable product that still satisfies the true omnivore. It doesn't require a compromise on taste, doesn't mean you have to eat a sad veggie burger that you don't really love. In addition to no compromise on taste and no compromise on the environment, you also don't have to compromise on nutrition for you as an individual or from the public health perspective. Because our product has no animals whatsoever in it, there's no cholesterol, of course. There's also no hormones and antibiotics. I think everyone listening to this understands that we are in a public health crisis based on the fact that we give the vast majority of our antibiotics to our animal livestock. And that has actually resulted in problems related to superbugs and immunity that we are spiraling out of control here. The last thing I want to say on this topic is that our product, because there are no animals in it whatsoever, has literally 0% chance of contributing to the next zoonotic pandemic. Probably don't have to tell anyone here, but the vast majority of cases of influenza and global epidemics have been caused by our close proximity to animals and our consumption of animals. Whether you're talking about the 1918 Spanish flu, which started on Kansas animal farms, or HIV, AIDS, influenza, SARS, MERS, and Ebola, and of course, more recently, COVID-19, we all know that our relationship with livestock has created a public health emergency, and we need to solve that problem. It's really interesting. Impossible Foods is based in California's Silicon Valley. And there are a lot of people in Silicon Valley, in the tech sector at large, who are very fascinated by Mars. This is a picture of life on Mars, okay? There isn't any. And people are really fascinated, and investors are attracted to companies that are trying to not just have a moon shot, but a Mars shot. There are people who are so concerned about the fate of our planet, about our collapsing biodiversity, about our horrific global warming and its consequences, that they are literally preparing to send humankind to Mars to live on in colonies, okay? This is actually pretty shocking and sad when you think about it. You've got some of the richest, smartest, most brilliant physicists in the world thinking about creating Martian colonies for humans, because it might be the only way they think that we could save the human species. That's pretty sad from my perspective, because frankly, we already have the most beautiful, the most livable, the most robust planet in the known universe. We just need to save it. We just need to stop plastering it with cows, with livestock, with their feed crops, and we actually need to protect it, to let biodiversity flourish again, to let photosynthesis do its job on the 45% of the earth that is currently used for animal agriculture. We actually need to make a difference that all of us can see from space on our planet. And I think we can do it. I know that people have the capacity to reimagine, to reinvent, to reverse engineer meat, and I know we'll do it.